Okay, we are live.
Woman recounts dating the Tinder swindler fraudster in SLIEMA. Embattled Malta Film Commissioner calls out hatred amid award show criticism. European Commission takes Malta to court over dirty water dumping. All this and more on Lovin Daily. Good evening and welcome to another episode of Lovin Daily. I'm Diacono, joined today by David Grech Urpani, and we have quite a range of stories to delve into today. You want to take us off the Tinder swindler, a show that is quite popular on Netflix, yep. And he was here in Malta.
Exactly, that's right.
To swindle women, right? Can you explain?
Yeah. So, thank you, Tim. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that a lot of people out there were coincidentally talking about Netflix's latest special, the Tinder Swindler, which is currently ranking in a lot of countries, not least Malta. But it seems like the man himself, the famous con man Simon Levayev, might have actually been in Malta. Well, it was actually in Malta. Now we have confirmation thanks to an exclusive interview by Lovin Malta. A Maltese woman, Danica Calafato, was basically watching the Tinder Swindler just like the rest of us, but she noticed something. She actually had gone on a date with this guy. This dates back right around the same time of the events in the movie itself, so this is going back about 6 years now, where she said basically, she had just downloaded Tinder, she started swiping, and she did get a match, and it happened to be none other than the Israeli con man who was convicted of theft, forgery, fraud, to the tune of $10 million. But not by then. By then, he was just another guy on Tinder who messaged her right away. He told her, I'm flying into Malta tomorrow. She said she couldn't make dinner, so they agreed for lunch. He asked her. Terribly sorry about this. He asked her for a recommendation for a place to go. She chose Exiles in SLIEMA, a very busy area. Unfortunately, the subject of quite a lot of headlines in the last couple of months. She said she felt sorry for him at first. She said, the images always showed him to be alone, taking selfies next to expensive cars, but cars are just something you can rent out after all. So she accepted for this date. She was a little bit ticked off when she didn't see him, but it turned out it got even more dramatic. Just like whoever has watched the film can testify. He told her, "I'm watching you," and all of a sudden she sees this man, dressed head to toe in designer clothes. We've seen him in Gucci and Dior and all of that in the film. Huge bodyguard, the person who viewers of the film will come to know as Peter. He gave her the same shtick that viewers have seen on Tinder Swindler. He chose the arms and weaponry story, which is not the one shown in the Netflix special. The Netflix special talks about him being this son of a diamond billionaire. He talked about being a former jet pilot. It got pretty wild. The entire interview is there on lovinmalta.com. Basically, there was a very Maltese red flag when he told her, he has no home and no family, and as a person who's very family centric, was kind of already a little bit, seeing it as maybe not the best matchup, especially when he told her, I had one friend, he screwed me over, and now he's 6 feet under. She denied his invitation to going to a super yacht, which was berthed nearby, which is already a scene. Being in SLIEMA and just seeing a super yacht outside is already something. He kept being very persistent. She rejected him, and it seems like years later, with some foresight and a very, very well produced Netflix series, that was the perfect decision to take. It's a cautionary tale, a very important tale, for girls out there. She said, we're all looking for Prince Charming, but this guy definitely isn't it. And for anyone who's watched it, he really doesn't sound like he is that guy.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully she didn't fall for it, but I don't, let's be honest, it wouldn't have been too out of this world for her to get on the yacht with him, right? Especially if it was there, buried in the harbour. And yeah, just I haven't watched this show, this Netflix film, but I understand if had she gone on that yacht, chances are he would have seduced her with like lavish luxury items, shown her how wealthy he is. I can take you to Thailand, he had said, I can take you wherever you want on my yacht. Seducing her with the high life, promise of the high life, and then after a while, he will then start pleading with her for money, for thousands of euro. But so this is like, it's a scam that's quite common and quite a common dating scam, but with the added twist that he has already shown his wealth to her. So you would assume that he will be able to pay you back. I mean, if it doesn't, then runs away with the money as all swindlers do. So yeah, the fact he was in Malta, I wonder if he tried it out on any other girls here as well. Moving on, Film Commissioner Johan Grech has responded to criticism that he has faced in the wake of the Malta Film Awards, particularly on this from an Instagram page which described him as a tumor to the film industry. Johan Grech said that this is hatred. This hatred shatters everything we believe in, both as a film and television industry, but also as a country. Teasing someone with inhuman words like tumor is scary. Different opinions exist, but they should never stoop to such a low and nasty level. It's very similar to what Tourism Minister Clayton Bartolo said in Parliament when he was confronted with claims of how much the film awards cost. And yeah, I mean, obviously, when you use these insulting words, the problem is then that any logical arguments somehow get cloaked behind these words, and people like Johan Grech would then easily ignore the argument entirely and just use the insults. But the argument itself, not calling him a tumor or anything like that, but the argument itself against the Malta Film Awards is extremely valid. PNP Jason Party has claimed that it cost over €2 million to organise, which is way over the budget of €400,000 that was originally set, and $200,000 alone was paid to the host, David Williams. The government has refused to confirm or deny the claims, only saying it's value for money, which, considering first of all, it's public funds, but also when it comes to film in Malta, there's local film industries, it's very, they're very penny pinching, right? You have to battle to get a bit of money, and then seeing all this money splash on one night alone, it hurts. It will hurt for someone in the industry, so they should definitely come clean.
Absolutely, and like you said, Tim, this Malta Film Awards has seemed to open a Pandora's box of statuses, NGOs, claims, attacks. I don't think it's going to be the end of it, definitely, because it's already been a couple of weeks, and let's see how this develops. Meanwhile, moving on from the Film Commission to the European Commission, the European Commission will actually be taking the Maltese government to court over the dumping of tons of dirty water into the surrounding sea. This actually is around Il Ciumnia, the Malta North, where a statement by the European Commission has shown that Malta has failed to follow the Urban Wastewater Treatment Directive. And it's not something that happened overnight, because it should have been fully compliant way back in 2007. For anyone alive around there, like I was, that was 15 years ago now. A letter of formal notice was initially sent back in 2016, which is 6 years ago. Some progress had been made, and the letter did specify that, but the issues weren't fully addressed. The problem is basically around the performance of wastewater treatment plants. So you have wastewater leaving the plants and failing to meet quality requirements and then being dumped into the sea. PN Chief Spokesperson Peter Ajus brought this to light as well earlier today with a status, talking about how government had spent €60 million in EU funds, and clearly saying that beyond the money, it takes expertise and political will to make use of such a fund. Clearly, if it took us, a decade and a half and we're still here.
I mean, at the end of the day, what this means, I mean, besides the fact that it's for the good of okay, sometimes it can feel as though the EU is setting some very stringent and unfair obligation on the country, but this, it really is for the country's own good, right? It's to protect our own waters, which are it's an amazing part of living in Malta and a great source of a great attraction for tourists. But besides that we're not going to be protecting our own waters, it's also, if Malta loses the case, we have to pay for it, right? That's the ultimate shot, that's the upshot of it. The European Commission will argue its case against the Maltese government. The Maltese government have to argue as to why it hasn't fulfilled its obligations. If Malta loses, it will have to pay a fee to the European Commission, which nobody wants at all. Moving on, a little worrying news for perhaps for the future of the country, but the Malta Embryo Protection Authority has released a report confirming a trend that the sperm count of Maltese men is 3 times lower than what it used to be 2 generations ago. And in fact, they noted that the number of couples who rely on IVF and assisted reproduction has increased, which indicates a pattern of decreasing male fertility. In fact, there's been an increase of 9.1% for IVF compared to the previous year, and this is correlated to trends happening in the West. A study in 2017 carried out by Dr. Shanna Swan found that Western men's average sperm counts had more than halved in the last 4 decades. Malta had the lowest fertility rate in the EU then, so not great. And she had actually predicted by the year 2045, which is like 20 years from now, most Western couples will have to use IVF and assisted reproduction. And the cause, which she says for this, is a combination of our daily lifestyle choices, food we eat, lack of exercise, and chemical exposures in our environment, both of which can and apparently are affecting fertility and sexual development besides our overall health. Puts it into perspective.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've been discussing the problem of Malta's overpopulation for a while, but this is definitely still not definitely the way that anyone would be happy to hear. This is a worrying trend. It's a worrying trend that is happening in quite a lot of countries in the West, as you said, and hopefully, doesn't lead into some sort of dystopian scenario, because it does really feel like early days,
like a Brave New World,
or Brave New World. Hopefully not. But anyway, speaking of Brave New World and very critically acclaimed films, jumping onto the Oscars, eagle-eyed people looking at the list of Oscar nominations might have actually seen a Maltese name, Peter SCIBERRAS. And as it so happens, Peter SCIBERRAS is credited with being the editor of The Power of the Dog, which leads this year's Oscar nominations with a whopping 12 nominations. The Maltese Australian, so...
how many did Blood on the Crown get?
Less,
yes, okay.
Significantly less. So the Peter SCIBERRAS, very Maltese-sounding name, but he has admitted himself that he is a first-generation Australian. Well, he's born to 2 Maltese migrants. Has gone on record to say, editing is one of the tougher crafts to single out and to praise because you're kind of invisible. This is just in the editing room. But the film industry brought this up with, a varied sense of tone. Just like we said in the previous story, there's been a lot of to and fro's and an exchange of a couple of sour words
especially in the light of the Malta Film Awards. So, you know, some of the posts were sarcastic jabs at the Malta Film Awards. Others were, you know, a mix of disclaimers of like, listen, it's really nothing to write home about. Yeah, sure, it's a Maltese name, but he is first generation Australian. But anyway, I mean, I'm just genuinely happy in the same way that I'd be watching, you know, a film credits, and I would always stay to the very end just to see if there's one Maltese sounding name. Peter SCIBERRAS definitely sounds extremely Maltese, and this is the Oscars we're talking about after all. This is all on the 27th of March, so just over a month ago, in just over a month. And Power of the Dog, as far as the editing nominations go, goes head to head with Dune, King Richard, Don't Look Up, and Tick Tick Boom. So a couple of people clubs.
He actually said the same thing actually about the film credits and spotting the Maltese name in the rolling credits. No, but well done to Peter SCIBERRAS. As for the Malta Film Awards, again, I mean, I'm sure they've watched the Oscars, but the whole point of it is before focusing on the awards, focus on creating the industry and then celebrate it with it, and then because otherwise it's like putting the cart before the horse. So that's it from us today. It's been great. Follow lovinmalta.com for all the latest developments, and have an evening full of loving.